Perhaps you notice a difference in my surroundings. Good job! Good perception. You did it. That's right. I've moved down to the yurt, and this is where I will be staying all the way until our move in December, when we're going to go up to a different place up north. And okay, I like it here. This is cool. Look, I have a fire. And I have a fire all the time. It's awesome. It's warm here. Yeah. Tons of firewood that I don't even have to cut myself. So cool. Some challenges to moving to the yurt, especially food, is going to come up. I feel like I went straight back to being a total novice as soon as I came here. I don't know anything about cooking on this fire. And the stove has like soapstone on it, which holds heat for a really long time, but it doesn't get very hot in the first place. So you have to really think ahead with your cooking. Right now I've got a pot of bacon on there that I put up in there. I got up at 2 o'clock in the morning to stoke the fire, and I put that on there, and it's still not done. I don't know how long it's gonna take, but I think part of the problem was I just had the fire too low, and I stoked it this morning, and it should be getting nice and hot. That should make the bacon cook faster.
Ooh, barely. I think I'm dead. Oh, my ribs. Oh, slice my hand open.
There's a lot of birds down here. Way more birds down here than up in the forest. It's super cool. We've got cardinals and chickadees and catbirds and ducks. There's even ducks in the pond. Those are fun to watch, just splashing around and diving for plants in the water. You'd think that the forest would be the place to go to look for birds, right? But apparently they're so spread out up there. And I don't know, maybe they like being down here because there's a water source that they can drink out of. But, you know, up in the forest, even if they're up there, they're like way up in the very top of that tree and just shunning me. They don't want to come down and socialize. But these ones out here are super friendly, and it's nice to hear them chirping around all day, flying around. But before I moved down here to the yurt, I did a couple of special meditation days. I did 2 hours per meditation session. So that's 2 hours per day. and that was kind of interesting. I learned some things from that. The first day, I set myself down and I was like, okay, I'm gonna meditate for 2 hours, focus as much as I can for as long as I can. Like an iron determination to focus on my breathing. And that was hard to do because it's so much easier to just slip off into thinking or other random places. And when you do that, you realize that you're not focusing anymore, and then you have to wrench yourself back to focus, and like you get all like, I should have been focusing, I need to improve, I need to do this better. I think my perfectionism is getting in the way there, and it's just not a very meditative experience. The second day, I just sat myself down and I was like, I'm gonna sit here for 2 hours. Doesn't really matter what I do as long as I sit here for 2 hours. And as long as I'm here, I may as well pick something for my mind to focus on. So, well, I'll focus on my breath. And that was much less boring, I found. When you're literally the only thing you have to do is nothing, it's surprisingly easy to get bored. But I didn't really get bored that time. I didn't check my watch as much. Like during that whole 2-hour session, I think I only checked my watch one time to see how much time I had left. It was kind of just like, well, it will beep eventually, so I'm just gonna sit here until it does. Part of the reason I was getting bored on the first day, I think, was a faulty assumption that I would be happier somewhere else doing something else. And I don't think that's really true. Because when I finished my meditation, I went over to my camp and I had breakfast and started, doing my work for the day, walking around or whatever. And that wasn't actually that much better or more pleasant than just sitting in one place on a log, watching the sunset and listening to the birds. So we get this idea in our mind that we'd rather be somewhere else pretty much any time we're doing anything that isn't holding all of our attention. But just accepting the fate that the universe has given you. My fate is to sit here right now and do this thing, and it's no better or worse than anything else. I think that's an important thing. Some cool things did happen while I was meditating. I ran across a huge black squirrel who just ran all the way from the other side of the forest, right along the branches on the ground, right up to me, and sat there staring at me and wiggling his tail like the way squirrels do when they're trying to warn each other of something. I don't know why they do that. Okay, squirrels are pretty well camouflaged, right? They're the same color as the trees. So why would they sit around wiggling their tail when they know there's something dangerous nearby? Because that draws all the attention to them. I don't understand it. But this one wasn't the same color as the trees. It was black. It was super cool. And it was big and fuzzy and just stared at me for a few minutes and then ran away, hopping along the trees. Man, they're so agile. It's awesome. And the day that I left my campsite, the whole deer population of Wisconsin was there to see me off. I saw 7 does and a buck, all walking in like a Congo line down at the bottom of my hill, all just trooping by my camp. I don't think I've ever seen that many deer in one day before. It was crazy. Talking. Should be talking? Okay. Do I need to hold that? Do you have a separate set of earplugs?
Success.
So when Matt was building his fire blindfold, I was trying to indicate, like, he had built up a pile of leaves and lit them on fire, and so they were burning, and then he was kind of moving it, and part of it had rolled off and fallen off to the side, and I wanted to indicate to him that his fire had moved from where he thought it was, because he was putting more leaves over here, and I was like, okay, I grabbed his hand and held it over the fire so I could show him, oh, this is where the heat is coming out. And he misunderstood me and thought I was trying to get him to take more leaves, so he just kind of put his hand in the flames directly, and it was kind of like touching the fire. Like, oh, should I get more leaves? Oh, okay. And then didn't act like it even bothered him. And I was sitting there thinking, I wonder, you know, like, if he had seen that, would he have put his hand over it and like, oh, that's hot? You know, like you would normally react when you literally touch a fire. But it seems like, you know, whenever you're blindfolded, that doesn't quite, like, you're not tricked into thinking it's hotter than it is. You're actually feeling the actual heat directly.
So our visual self is basically overreacting to that situation.
Yeah,
and
it seemed like he didn't even care. And as he was lighting his matches, he was checking it by touching, or like he was holding the match right up next to the tip, and it would be on fire. And I would have like dropped the match probably if I had been doing that, but he just didn't act like it mattered. He moved it down. And
Wow.
I have a challenge for people this week, and this relates to something that Brett helped me see, which is that once we've already concluded what we're trying to do and given up and decided to go do something else, if we stay behind and keep looking for a little bit longer, some interesting things may start to happen. So far, it seems like when I get a hand drilled coal, for instance, it only seems to happen after I've already put in all my work, all my effort into this coal, put in all the power, and been like, okay, I'm done, that's all I've got. I haven't gotten a coal. And then I do like 3 or 4 more until I'm absolutely exhausted. And then I check that, and I've gotten a coal. It's those couple of extra spins after I've already given up and decided to walk away that made the difference. And this is true with other things as well. I was doing a species inventory on one of the islands at the place up north, and I was trying to check out all the different things that lived on the island, you know, compare that to what it's going to be like in the winter and stuff like that. Should be interesting. But I did 2 circuits of the little island, counted every plant species, every mushroom, every squirrel that there was to be found, and you know, this took like an hour, at least hour and a half, so by then I was pretty tired of looking at plants, and I was ready to go. So I was just finishing my second lap around the island, and I was pretty happy to be going back. I almost finished when I stumbled across this little tree that had been chewed down by a beaver. And I looked at that for a few minutes, and I thought that was interesting. And then I decided to walk away. And as I was walking away, I found a leaf that I didn't recognize. I hadn't seen this leaf anywhere else on the island. So I looked at it for a little bit, wondered about it, decided I didn't care that much, and then decided to walk away. But then I turned back and realized, okay, I just gave up and decided to walk away. Now what else can I discover from this? And I traced that leaf back to a tree that had fallen by the side of the path. And it was the same tree that this beaver had chewed down, and it was still bright red while most of the other trees around there had turned brown. And I hadn't even seen this bright red tree lying on the side of the path on the first time I walked around the island. And it was a totally different tree than I'd seen before when I was doing my species inventory. So all I did was decide to go back and have one more look at the situation before walking away. And I discovered a whole story of a tree that had been chewed down by a beaver, and it had these fancy red, bright red leaves, and it was a tree that I hadn't ID'd before. So I think there's a certain power in this kind of thinking where you've already used all your assumptions, you've already, gone through all of your preconceptions, and you've satisfied your internal story, and then you go back and look one more time and see what is really there. So that's my challenge for people to try, is when you find that you've given up on something and you're right about to walk away from it, go back and look at it one more time, and interesting things may start to happen. Okay, I tried that bacon I was cooking, and whoa, oh my gosh, so good. I mean, you bite it and your teeth go all the way through it. You don't have to gnaw on it or anything. Oh my gosh, so full of flavor. If you ever get a chance to cook bacon on a wood stove overnight, you gotta do it. Oh my gosh. Well.